The purpose of this video is to demonstrate how to make these two versions of a simple single-walled tray. And what's important about these trays is that they are parametric and that they will adjust in length. So I'm going to adjust the length of this tray here, and the pattern of the cavities will automatically adjust as well, and likewise for this other tray. Now both of these trays are fundamentally the same. There is just a few details regarding the recessed area that are different. So this is what we're going to construct now, starting from scratch. So there you go. So to begin with, let's start with a new scene. So new scene, and IronCAD will start with whatever template has been set as default. And so this is my default template. I like to be able to see the XY plane of my coordinate system just to help me with my bearings. And we're going to create what's called a structured part. Now in IronCAD we have different modeling modes. We have innovative part mode, we have structured part mode, and we have sheet metal part mode as well. But we work in structured part here, so make sure that's selected, and then we're going to create a part. So we'll select our create part, and in the scene browser on the left here, we've got an empty part that's created. And with structured parts, they have their own coordinate system, and to add anything within the part itself, it needs to be set as active. Now when it's first created, by default it's set as active, but if you want to check, select the part, right click, and you'll see here if this indicator is on or not, and yes it is. So this is currently being set as active. If I deactivate it, the coloring changes slightly. Right click on it, set as active, you see that the coloring has changed to indicator. Now I'm going to turn off my global coordinates here, so just to hide that. And to begin with, we're going to create a sketch, and I want this sketch to be on my XY plane here of my structured part. So going up to the ribbon and selecting sketch and 2D shape, I'm going to select its on the right here. I'm going to set the position of this sketch relative to my part, and I want my sketch to be on a plane, and specifically I want it to be on this XY plane here, and I want the origin point to be at the origin point of the part, and so by default it's selected that. And it gives me options regarding the direction of the X and the Z axis, and I've got the option of whether I want this to be fixed, locked into place to the origin point and to this plane, which is what I do. So I'll select yes. I'm happy with the position of my sketch. Now I'm in 2D sketch mode. So the ribbon here is changed slightly. I've got some tools available for creating some geometry here, and I could simply just create a rectangle, but I'm not. For demonstration purposes, I'm going to just create a polyline. And so with the tool selected, I'm going to left click to place some points in my screen here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to connect it up to this other one here. So that last one. And to finish command here, see it's still highlighted in the ribbon, press the escape key, and then the command stops. Now there's always instructions in the bottom left hand corner as well to keep an eye on. Now this isn't the geometry that I want. I can grab this corner and move it to where I want, and approximately make it look where I want, and if I select the geometry, it shows me what the length is, and I can even turn on information to display where points are on the screen. But I want to be a bit more precise, and so I'm going to apply some constraints to the geometry of my sketch. And up here on the ribbon, I've got a whole series of constraints that I can apply, and I'd like these two lines here to be horizontal. So I'm going to select the horizontal constraint tool, make it active, so left click, and then the bottom left hand corner asks me to specify the curves that I want to constrain. So I'm going to select this curve here, and the tool is still active, and then I'm going to select the other one. Okay, so I'm happy with that. So press escape or just press the same button again. Now I want to do the same for these two lines. I'll make them vertical, but I'll do it a different way. So when you select any geometry, on the right it shows the properties of that geometry, and it gives you the option of specifying or turning on some constraints. So I can turn on the vertical constraint here for this line, and you'll see a red indicator showing me that that constraint is turned on, just like these red indicators are here. Now you can select the lines individually, or you can box select. And so I'm just going to box select through this one left, just to demonstrate. Going from right to left, I'm just holding down the left mouse key to select, and then in the properties browser I'm going to set this to being a vertical constraint as well. Done. So the horizontal and vertical, I'm part way there, but I want this to be perfectly centered to the axes of the sketch as well. So I'm going to use a mirrored constraint. So again, up in the ribbon, I'm going to select my mirrored constraint, turn it on, and then in the bottom left hand corner it tells me to select the two points that I want to be mirrored, and then the mirror line. And so and I'm using my left mouse button here, I'm going to select this point, and then this point, and then I want this axis here to be my mirror line, so I'll click on that. And you'll see these little indicators showing that these 2 points are now mirrored with each other. Now the mirror tool is still active, so I can use it for these other points as well. So I want this point here to be mirrored with this point here with this axis. And I'm happy, so I can press the escape key to finish the command. And so now if I drag a point, the geometry in my sketch is always going to stay perfectly symmetrical with those axes. The next step is that I want to apply a couple of dimensions. And now in IronCAD we can actually apply things, have IronCAD apply constraints and dimensions automatically to our sketches. So if I just right click in my sketch here, go to constraint, I can turn on various things to automatically apply things. But it's not helpful for the demonstration, so I've got them turned off. And so I'm going to apply a dimension to here to define the length of my cavity area. So I'll place it here, and then it allows me to give it a meaningful name as well. So I'm going to call this my tray cavity area length. And I'm going to give it a length of 360. Okay. And then I'm going to do a similar thing. The tool is still active until I press escape. And I'm going to apply a dimension here on this line and give this 220 and give it a name. And we'll call this one tray cavity area width. And okay, now all the geometry has turned green. That means that everything is fully constrained. This tool is still active, so I'll press escape, and I'm happy with the sketch. So I'll exit this, and in my part in the scene browser, you'll see a 2D sketch has been added, and I'm going to give it a meaningful name for our demonstration. We'll call it our tray cavity area, because this sketch is going to drive everything else that follows. Now I want to add some solid geometry. So I'm going to create an extrusion, and so with that sketch highlighted in the property browser, I'm going to right click and go down to create, and then create an extrude. So left click on this, and then in my properties panel on the right, I've got some options. And so direction 1 is going 60 millimeters, which is actually what I want. And I've got a preview here, but it's heading in the opposite direction of what I want. So I'm going to select this little reverse icon here, button, and now it's heading in the right direction. Now I've got an option here for a direction 2, heading above the sketch, but I don't want to, so I'm just going to leave that at 0. And there's no other bodies in the sketch at the moment, so this is going to create a new body within this part. Let's go OK. So here in my bodies, if I expand it, here's the body that's being created. So this is the feature, and this is the body, and this is the part. So I'll give this again the same name as this, make it easier for us to follow. Paste. Alright, so now I want to add a cavity in here, and I'm going to create a simple cavity that's created using two simple shapes from our shapes catalog. Now I could create a 2D sketch like I did to create this, and I could create a cut extrude, but I'm going to use these basic shapes here instead, again for demonstration purposes. Now these are basic shapes that we can just drag and drop into the scene, and some are positive shapes and some are negative. And so the negative shapes are a cut. So I'm just going to left click, drag, and just drop it onto this face here. And by default it's coming in with a 40mm diameter, and I'm happy with that. So I'll leave that, but I want to select this bottom handle and change the depth to 40mm as well. So I'm just going to click in the scene here, and you can see that it's just cut a cylinder into my block. And in the properties browser on the left, it shows the feature that's been added, and I'm going to give it a meaningful name. This is my cavity shape cylinder. So that's the first shape that I want. Now I'll go back to my shapes catalog, and I'm going to drop in an extrude cut. In the same process, left click, just drag, and I'm just going to drop it anywhere here. And by default it's coming in with a length here of 50, and well, actually I want 40. So I'll just double click on that handle, 40. And in this direction here, I want 40 as well. And in this bottom handle here, I want 20. Click on the scene. So those are my two basic shapes, but I actually want them combined together. So I'm going to select that. Oh, better give this a name. Copy, paste, and we'll call that square. So now I'm going to move this shape relative to this one. And so with it selected, you'll see there's an L-shaped anchor, and every shape and part and sketch within IronCAD has got an anchor, which is used for positioning purposes. And the tool that we're going to use for positioning is the tribal. And so I've got a little indicator here, or icon, that I can click on, which I'll left click, and it's turned on the tribal, and this tribal is attached to what I had selected, which is this shape. And what I want to do is, with the tribal, you can move things around wherever you want. So I've just grabbed with my left mouse button this top area here, which locks it in that plane, and I can move it where I want. If I select this axis here, it means it will only move in that direction, and similarly with this one, it'll only move or in this one. So it's a very handy tool. So I'm going to select that top plane, and I want the center of this cylinder to be on this corner point here. So again, that top plane there, and at the center of my tribal, I'm going to right click, and I'm going to say 2 point, and I'll say I want you there. So now my shape has moved to where I want it, and I'm going to turn off the tribal, and I've got a combined shape. Now for now I'm just going to leave it where it is, but I need to add some more detail to my cavity. I'm going to need to add some draft. So going back to my feature a tab of the ribbon, and I can select the draft faces tool, and in the panel on the right, properties panel, is asking for a neutral plane, and I want my draft to take place from this top plane here, and the faces that I want to draft are these side faces here, including that one. And I've applied a 10-degree draft, so it's really easy to see for our demonstration what's going on. So, and I'll apply OK. And again, I'll just give a name to our feature, so cavity draft, and I'll put in the value as well, 10. Next thing I want is a blend. So I can't have sharp corners in my cavity, so I'm going to apply a blend here with a 2mm. So my properties options on the panel on the right, and I'm going to select the geometry that I want. In this case, it's going to be these inside corners here. Now I'm going to deliberately select something wrong here. I'm going to select this face by mistake, and so in my panel on the right, I'm just going to drag it down and right click on what is selected and delete it, because that was a mistake. And so now I'm going to select the correct what I wanted, which was that edge there, that edge there. And I also want to select this edge here. So I can either select that surface or the edge. So we'll just select that edge. And I'm applying a 2mm blend to all of these edges here. And we'll go OK. And so we'll again call this our cavity blend, and I've got a 2mm. And we'll apply another blend now. Blend edges, same tool. And there's an option here called smooth connected, and so what it does is I'm going to apply a 4mm radius to this edge here, and what it's going to do is connect to any tangent edges to it, so I don't have to select them, and go OK. So I'm happy with that, and again we'll give it a meaningful name, makes it easier to follow. And for troubleshooting, right, so I'm happy with my my cavity, and I just need more than one, and so I'd like to optimize the use of this whole area, and this is what this is. This isn't the defining the area of the tray. This is defining the area that I wanted to pattern, and so the next thing I need to apply here is my pattern itself. And so there's a tool here called pattern feature. Up in our ribbon features, select this here, and with lots of different types of patterns that we can apply: linear, bilinear, circular, edge, sketch patterns, and they're all useful and for different applications, but we're going to use this fill pattern. And the first thing is it's asking for what are the features. Now I could select these other things first, but we'll go with the features. And so I'm going to select the original cylinder, the original square, the draft angle, the blend here, the 2mm blend, and the 4mm blend. And in the properties panel on the right, it's listed what I've selected. So it's going to pattern all of these things. The next step is I'm going to select the filling boundary, and I'm going to select this top face. I want all of these features here to be patterned in that area. Then the next thing highlighted in red here is the axis 1, and so there's two distances that our pattern's going to go in. There's a distance 1 of I've set as 70mm, and a distance 2 of 70mm, and this distance 2 is going to be 90 degrees to distance 1, but I need to set the direction for axis 1, and so I'm going to use this bottom edge here. I want that to be the direction that it's going, and it gives me a preview of what my pattern is going to look like. And if it doesn't give you a preview, then there's something wrong in your selections or in what you're trying to do. So we'll accept this. I think great, but it doesn't look particularly efficient use of the area. But IronCAD is saying, well, you've placed some geometry here, and I can't fit any more on the left hand side here, and there isn't quite enough room on the right hand side to get what I want as well. So I need to be a bit more efficient in where I've put my first cavity. So with a structured part, you can roll back to a previous state, and so left clicking on the rollback state at the bottom, I'm just going to drag it up to where I finished creating this original cavity. And I'm going to select these shapes and I'm going to move them to the center of my part to see if that makes a difference. So I'll select that first cylinder and I'm going to hold down the control key and left select the next shape. Now I'm going to turn on the tribal. Now the tribal is now attached to what I have selected, and the position of the tribal is adopted the anchor of the first shape that I selected. And so we'll try this. We'll just lock that face there, and I'll right click on the center and let's go to, I can go to point, but I'll go edit position and go, I want it 0, 0 at the origin. Right, well it looks pretty centered, so let's roll back and see what our pattern looks like. Oh, well it's still not quite what I want. I can see the original shape here, I can highlight it, but it doesn't seem very efficient to me. So maybe what I need to do is have the center of the total geometry centered on my part. Well, that might make a difference. So I'm just going to roll back again. Again, I'm just doing this all for demonstration purposes. I didn't have to do all this. This is just to demonstrate what you can do. So the two shapes are selected. I'm going to turn the tribal. And now I'm going to position the tribal in a different place. Instead of being centered on that first shape, I want it centered on the entire shape. And so to do that, I'm going to temporarily disconnect it from the shapes. So I'm going to hit the space bar on my keyboard and it turns white. And so I'm going to lock this axis here. And so right clicking on the end of this axis or in the center, so I'll stay on the end here, right click, and I'm going to say I want to move the tribal to the midpoint of 2 points, point to point. So I'll select that option. And now I need to select the 2 points. So I want it to be midpoint between this point here and this point here. And so it's moved along. And I want to do the same in this direction. So again, right click on the end of it to midpoint, point to point. I want it to be between this point here and this point. Great. So I'm just going to click out here and just check. It looks about right. It is actually perfect. So now I need to reconnect the tribal to those selected shapes by hitting the space bar again. This turns blue. That means that if I move this tribal now, those shapes will follow. So I'll go through the same process. I'll just lock that top plane and then right click on the center of the tribal, go edit position, and I say, look, I want you right in the middle of the origin. Right, so that's where my primary or my first cavity is. So now we'll roll back again. So instead of dragging it though, I'm just going to right click on it and go roll back to end. Oh, that's much better. So now I've got IronCAD has been able to more efficiently pattern that single cavity within the available area. And so we'll just save what we've been doing here. And we'll give this a name. So this is our trade cavity trade cavity area pattern. Great. So we'll just check our functionality so far. So if I change this area and say reduce this to 20, then yeah, it reduces the pattern. Let's say if I went halfway between. Okay, well it can't quite fit in another one, so unless I move the original cavity. So let's go back to 360. And yeah, okay. So functionality wise, it's working fine. However, I need to add some more detail. So I need to add a blend around here. And so to do that, we're going to use our blend tool again. But rather than selecting these edges, I'm going to select this whole face. And the reason for doing this is I want, when we're adjusting the size of the part and the number of cavities changes, I want IronCAD to automatically recognize the new cavities and to apply the necessary blends. So that's why I've selected it as a face rather than the individual edges. And so we'll go OK. And again, I'll give this a name. Tray cavity area blends, and we'll put in our value here as well. Now you'll notice that it's put in, because I selected that area, it's put a blend on the edges as well, and that wasn't what I wanted. I knew that was going to happen, but we don't want that, so we're going to remove them, and we're going to select them at the face level. And so the first click here, the first left click, is at the part level. The second click is at the shape level, the tally shape level, or feature level, and then the next click here is at the face level. And so I'm going to just hold down the shift key and select all 4 faces, and then I'm going to right click on it and go delete. So left click delete, and it's asking me in the properties panel on the right, am I sure? It's showing these are the 4 faces. Yes, and go OK. And IronCAD removes those blends and has calculated the geometry that needs to be added. So again, I'll give this a name, and we'll just put this as delete. All right, trade cavity chamfer. So let's put some extra geometry. We've got a little bit of room at our corners here. So I'm going to put a chamfer here, use our chamfer tool. Select the tool, and we're going to put a distance of 40 millimeters on this edge here. Oh, that's too much. Try 20. There we are. And 20 on this edge as well. And again, we'll give it a name. Tray cavity area, and it was 20. And now we want to create the boundary. So what I said earlier was that this here is just defining the area to pattern, but we're going to create the boundary around our tray now as well. So we're going to create a sketch, and to do that we'll go to our sketch tool, 2D sketch. Again, we need to position our sketch, and I want it on the same XY plane, and I want it on the origin, and I go OK. Now what I want my boundary to be the same shape as this cavity area, but I want it to be 20 millimeters offset. So I'm going to go to the underside of this shape here, and up in my ribbon I'm going to use project constraint, and so I'm going to project this whole face here into my sketch. And so I press the escape key to finish. And you'll see that there's some green lines that have been projected into my sketch from that geometry. And on the right here in my properties panel, I'm just going to select hide all, because I don't want to see, I don't need to see the other geometry within my sketch now. Now I'm just going to do a double click on one of these lines, not too fast, not too slow. Try again. There we are. And it's selected all of the lines. And I'm going to go up to my offset tool in the ribbon, and over in the properties panel on the right, I'm going to give it a distance of 20 mils, and I wanted the offset to be outside, which it has done, and I wanted it to apply a dimension, which is done. And we'll go OK. And we'll give this a name. This is our tray boundary. And now we're going to create an extrude from the sketch. So right click on it, create, extrude. And just like with the original extrude, it's put in a distance and a direction, and it's not the direction I want it to go the other way. So I'm going to select reverse here. So it's going the other way. And I don't, at the moment it's selected as being a set distance, but instead of a set distance, I'm going to select through all. So what this means is that it's going to, the distance that it uses is going to be the same as whatever the current depth is of this body. And the second direction, I'm just going to leave as 0. Now this here, because I've got an existing body in this part, by default IronCAD is going to add this body to the existing body, and yeah, I'm okay with that, so we'll go okay. Right, so now we've got a wider tray body. We'll give this a name, paste tray body, and now we're going to apply some extra blend. So we'll put a blend on the corner here, and we'll put a blend on the corner here, and we'll put some blends on these corners here. So our features and blend edges, and so we'll start with our 40mm blends. So I want this corner here and this corner here to be 40mm, so we'll call that our tray body blend 40, and I'm going to apply a 10mm blend on these edges here. So same again, type in 10, select the edge, this edge, this edge, this edge, and accept. And again, tray body blend 10mm. So all that's left now is to use our shell tool. So I've got a solid body here at the moment, but we want a 2mm wall thickness throughout. And so the tool to use here is our shell command, up again in the feature tab of the ribbon. So shell part, and we're going to shell the inside of what we select. And it's the first thing asked here, and it's highlighted in red, is what faces do you want to be open? And I want to be this bottom face to be open. Actually, I also need to set the thickness that I want, and I want that face to be open, this. So I need to go around and select these sides, and I have the opportunity as well of setting individual thicknesses for different faces, but we're just going to set everything the same as 2, and we'll go OK. Right, and I'll give our name tray body. Right, and I'll go save. And I'll right click on my part and deactivate all. So now I have completed our first basic tray design, Again, if I adjust this here to say 500, the part will automatically adjust the pattern for us. We'll go back again, and so let's say back to 220. So that's exactly what we wanted to achieve. I'll select the part and we'll say change the color, and we'll say we'll make this one red. Oh, a bit bright, let's make it yellow. Alright, okay, save. But now we're going to do our second version of it. And again, with the with structured parts, because we can roll back to different states, and because of the way that the model has been constructed, we can easily make this into a recessed version. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll back the design to this point here, where we have just extruded our boundary, and we've just made it the same as the cavity area. So I'm going to make it an edit to this. So I'm going to right click on this feature and go edit feature options, and I'm going to give the second distance. I want to extrude it upwards to a value of 10 millimeters. Go OK. So now I've got this recessed area. So I actually didn't change the height of the top of the cavities. I've just lifted up the boundary. And so now I need to apply a draft to these faces here. So we'll use our draft tool again, and I'm going to select this top face here as my neutral plane. Now I could select this face, but I want my draft to go back from this face backwards. Again, I'll make it 20 degrees, make it really obvious. We'll try that anyway. And so I need to go through now and select the different faces that I want to draft backwards. Alright, and so we'll call this our tray boundary draft, and I think I made it 20 degrees. And so again, where I've rolled it back, I've just put in a new feature above the previous features that were in the structure. So those other features are still there. I'm just inserting some additional features in above them. And so I'm going to add a blend now to the inside corners here. So first we'll go with 20 mil. So blend edges 20, and I'll go with that corner there and that corner there. And so again, tray boundary blend, and that was 20. And we'll do the same thing again, but we'll put a 10 mil in these areas here. So blend 10 mil, select the edges. Oh, there, here, and here, and OK. Give it a name. And now I want a blend along the bottom edge. Now these are all tangent, so that makes it nice and easy. So we'll do our blend, and I want a 2 mil blend just following this bottom edge. And so same again, Control V, and it's 2 mil, and along the top. So same again, blend edges, and these are going to be 4 mil along the top. Except Control V, Great. And so all that's required now is for me to roll back and check just one at a time that the other geometry is still going to behave okay, and it should. And then finally our shell. So I've just taken the previous design, because of the way that I constructed it. It allowed me to raise the border or lower it separately to the cavity area that was defined in the middle. So again, no differences before. I can make the changes that I want, and IronCAD will recalculate the number of cavities required. So there you have it. It's our simple single-walled tray, two versions, one with a flat edge, and then this one with the recessed area as well.